on Online for Authors. I'm chatting with Lee Livingston, author of In the Rearview Mirror. Welcome, Lee.
It's great to be here. Thanks, Terry.
It's wonderful to have you. Before we dive into the book, which I thoroughly enjoyed, I'd like you to give my readers just a quick idea of what they're going to find when they open up the cover of In the Rearview Mirror.
Okay. Well, they're going to find a book about two teenagers that hitchhiked across the United States in 1961. It's about the 60s. In fact, my publisher told me, I guess Amazon has all kinds of lists and things like that, and told me that it is one of the 100th best books about the 1960s.
Fantastic. Isn't that should make you feel really good?
I have no idea. I have no idea where they found that or anything, but it's basically the big year is 1961. It's before everything began to fall apart.
Right. And the other thing that I've noticed about the way Amazon does things is they make the 1960s historical fiction, and that just hurts my soul.
Well, hurts my I don't know if it hurts your soul, but it tells you how old you are. Right?
It's like, oh my gosh, that just Yeah. Anyway, I'm curious. This is a memoir, so this isn't just two kids. This is you and your friend Dango and Dango, your friend Dango. What made you decide that you were going to write a memoir?
Just that this was such a burnt in memory in my life. And, the first line, I let you know, your best friend, your high school best friend is a friend for life until he shoots himself at 29. So that's the whole story right there. But the fun part is how we get there.
How you get to that spot. Absolutely.
But, he was probably the first in high school to die, to do that. He was bipolar. But you don't know. We didn't know that back then, and it was called manic depressive back then. And I don't even think we knew that. So, but he like many bipolar people, he was brilliant, and when the ups and downs were terrific.
Yeah. And when he was up, it was probably wonderful to be by his side.
It was. He just made you feel alive, and he pushed me on this road trip, which on the front cover, there's a 1956 Pontiac Star Chief, which was the car we started out from Cleveland, Ohio. And we're working summer jobs in Sequoia. And immediately after a month there, we were bored and wanted to go back to Cleveland and find old girlfriends before we went off to college. So this is the trip that we had to get back, but I drove the car off a cliff, which is in the story. And fortunately, the car saved my life because it was a 3,700-pound Pontiac Star Chief. Was one of the most heaviest cars, solid steel it was a convertible, so it had the steel lifts and everything. And when I drove off, it was like a cliff on the way up to Sequoia. It just dropped straight. It didn't flip. It just went like a dead weight into a farmyard. And, fortunately we were fine, but it ended up that we had to hitchhike back to Cleveland. That's where the fun began.
So in all of the stories that you told, is there one in particular that was your favorite? I know my favorite. I'm just curious, what was your favorite story in what you told us?
Well, it's such a cross section of American life in those years. And for two boys from the upper middle class section of Shaker Heights and Cleveland Heights, it really opened our eyes to, we were picked up by so many different people, and they were really from all walks of life.
Right.
Army guy, an Air Force guy picked us up, this and that. I mean, the final ride into Cleveland, it was one of my favorites, was two black guys, leaving Columbus to have a Weekend in Cleveland picked us up, and they were the size of Cleveland Browns linemen, and that was a trip in itself. But the one that got me the most, I think, was the farm couple that picked us up in St. Louis, or just outside of St. Louis, and they had 3 kids in the car with them, and they picked up 2 high school guys, which people were picking up people then, which is great.
Right.
And, we had our signs out there, and they picked us up and packed us into this old DeSoto with the 3 kids and drove us all the way from St. Louis to Columbus, Ohio. And just spending the time, and you get to know Dango, who was crazy. I mean, it was heartwarming, and it was amazing that they picked us up. I mean, I remember asking the wife, why'd you pick us up?
Why'd you do that?
And she said, we had room, and they didn't have any room.
I was going to say, when you think about it, I have 4 children, and I remember packing us all into a car, and there really isn't room for 2 more grown adults, because although you were, right before college, size wise, you're 2 grown men with gear.
Oh, absolutely. It was an age, and I guess 1961 may have been one of the last years where this open America was like this, and the people picked you up, and then immediately you were into conversations, and you knew about their life. I mean,
right.
We had a pornographic bookstore, opener.
Right. That's one of the ones that made me laugh really hard. I could just, because several times you said things like, do you know who we're riding with? Like, do you know who we're riding with? And Dango wasn't being very smart in the back seat, right?
Dango was with his girlfriend in the back seat. Yeah. Yeah. As I get older, but this is republished, and it's doing well, getting it out there. This is, it's a real love story to America, just to what we found. And it's so different, so wildly different from the way it is now.
You say that, and I believe you, but my husband and I rode across the United States on a tandem bicycle in 2020. So we started in Astoria, Oregon, and we rode to Washington, D.C. And it's not the same as hitchhiking, because we had our own way of going, but we met all kinds of people along the way and had some very similar experiences in terms of friendliness and openness and people sharing their stories. And I think there's still a lot of that 1960s America left. You might have to look a little harder for it.
No, it's out there. I think probably in the small towns and small areas. I think most of the big cities, of course, there's a monumental amount of damage that's been done by computers and telephones and cell phones. So people, and especially kids, especially teenagers, and don't have that, don't have to talk and face and with other people. And, for 2 18-year-olds in 1961, which was JFK's, first year, and that was Camelot, everything was fine. Right. There were certainly no race riots. There was Jim Crow down south, but Cleveland didn't have any riots yet, and all that stuff was to come. But the racial relations were still good. They're especially good in Cleveland. Yeah. And when I say good, I don't mean that everybody was buddy and loved each other, but there was certainly respect, and we worked with Black people, and we certainly loved the music. And in Cleveland, we spent, and a lot of that's covered in the book. We went down and with dates from, and we're dancing in bars downtown Cleveland, because first of all, we were 18 and they let us in and gave us drinks, and we were not good boys, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, and just so you know, guys, nothing in the book does he ever try to make you believe that he was this pristine young man. I mean, you were very honest. You were very honest about the fact that you were very typical 18-year-old boys on the verge of becoming men who weren't quite ready to do it yet, and were still trying to hang on to that last little bit of fun.
Well, there's some sex in there, but it's actually kind of funny 18-year-old sex.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain that, but I'll let you find that out when you read the book.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's more like, can we? And then when you can, you're kind of like, oh, what are we supposed to do with it now?
Yeah, that's true. But, and also, I got kicked out of my prep school for writing. Yeah. Okay.
Right.
So
right.
We used to write the social thing for the school paper, another best friend and I, and we had no social standing in Cleveland. It was a great prep school, university school. And, well, anyway, you should find out why I got kicked out for writing a sort of a Christmas message to all the other students, which was
it wasn't very Christmassy, Lee.
No, it wasn't not very Christmassy, and was not appreciated by the Cleveland high society.
Yes, I'm sure not. I'm sure not. You choose which stories to put in and which stories to leave out, because I'm sure that there are more stories that didn't make it into the book. Yeah.
Yeah. And there are, I mean, it is, and the memoir was exactly the 4 days we took.
Right.
But a couple of the trips were out of other trips I've taken in my life. And I put in some other people that, are all real in my life, but
right.
Because it's a memoir. I didn't say it was truthful,
Most people think that memoirs are 100% true, and they're true. They are true, but they're also from your point of view, and our memories also do things over time where we remember things that weren't quite the same. I don't know if you never really had the chance to go back with Dango and say, hey, is this the way you remembered it? So you didn't have that aspect.
No, we didn't. And it's true. But I mean, the memories, especially when you get to be my age, I mean, the memories that we have of, especially vivid memories like that trip, are so right there. I mean, I remember those better than when I went to the market yesterday.
Right.
I think I left my phone at the market. So
that's a whole nother story, Lee.
That's a story that repeats itself way too often.
Right. I get that.
But
how did other people, family, friends who knew you back when, how have they responded to this?
Oh, I mean, I have two boys of my own now, who are 30. They loved the story.
Okay.
And so they want me to write now about. I became a creative director at a major agency during the Mad Men years, and so they want me to write stories about that. I'm not sure I can write those stories either, but they loved it. And the friends back in Cleveland, the people in high school and everything, really ate it up. One of my best friends was a writer for Road and Track and car magazines. When I first wrote it, I took it back to my 50th high school reunion and gave it the first copies to my friends. and he came to me and he said, you've got that 56 Pontiac listed as 20 or 1,700 pounds. He said, that's barely the weight of a Fiat. He said, that thing weighed 3,700 pounds. And, I had to go back and
do some fixing. Yeah. I think that's great.
But,
yeah, I think I was just surprised. First of all, you didn't tell your parents. They thought you were on a bus.
Right. They thought after I wrecked my car, my father just said, get on a bus and get, he's mad that we quit the job.
Right. And mad that you ruined the car. And he's probably still not happy over the getting kicked out of your prep school 6 months prior to that. So you were not in good graces at this point, Lee.
Actually, my father was a big time exec, in fact, in oil companies and, Venezuela. He was down in Venezuela, building some of those refineries down in the 50s. So, no, he actually, it was when I became closer with my father, when I got kicked out, because he came to me, put his arm, when he told me that I got kicked out, he put his arm around me and said, hey, this is nothing, especially what I got kicked out for. He says, here, take this. It was from the school newspaper. Take this school newspaper and go visit these colleges in California, because there are only a few of them left you can still get into,
Right.
So,
right.
And so that was good. I mean, that was fine. Dango is it. You get to know Dango in this book, the way I knew him, and you love it. And Dango was one of those characters that you just love because he was out there, he was open, he was and like the kids in this car, we were all crammed in the back seat, just would crawl all over him. He loved, I mean, this is an 18-year-old that was probably about 6'1", 190. And it just very smart, but flawed. And
and we all have those flaws.
Yeah, we do.
And
most of us can overcome them. And then back in those days, we drank too much. This was before heavy drugs. And whenever he drank, the darkness came in.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people with mental health issues tend to drink or take drugs or other things, trying to self-medicate, he's very likely that's what he was doing, he was trying to somehow erase those demons.
Right.
As someone who, I know many people with different mental health issues, as I saw Dango and his mother interact, I felt quite certain that his mother also had mental health issues and that he was dealing with those.
He was diagnosed as bipolar.
Yeah.
And actually spent some time, in a home, but you don't. And as you find out in the book, I mean, he starts off like he hates her, but
he doesn't.
He doesn't. And the love for her and everything probably helped his disease, which is strange.
It is. It's very different. I got a big kick out of the railroad trip. When you guys decided you were getting on this train, you don't know where it's headed. You don't really know where you're headed.
Well, we know it's headed east.
Yeah, but there's a lot of east between California and where you're going in Cleveland, right? I mean, there's a lot. And
we picked it up in Arizona.
But still, there's still a lot of east between there and you could have ended up east in Georgia. Like that wouldn't have done you any good at all. I was so surprised, and I think it's funny how many times you seem to be the one trying to say, I don't really know. And Dango's like, come on, we're going. And then Lee just says, okie dokie, I guess we're going.
Well, absolutely. He was believe me, he was the protagonist. I mean, he would drag me along on those things. And, did I come to love it? Yes. And could I?
Right.
I'm the one that wrote about it and had more fun. I mean, was able to tell my parents about it and how much it meant to me. And it was terrific. It's something I don't think there's much chance of anybody doing that now, because hitchhiking is just, can't.
Yeah.
And this was before, and it takes place during the story. The building of the interstates,
yes,
are being built, as we hitchhike and get around them, and sometimes get on them, and sometimes even go up on them, which we weren't allowed to do, and try to stop cars. I mean, it's if my publisher can say this is one of the 100 best books about 1960s, I'll just say it's the best book about 1961.
Well, and about the idea, like, I cannot imagine, and I'm wondering if you can imagine letting your sons go hitchhike across the United States. Hey, Dad, you did it. We think we're going to go do it. I mean, I wouldn't have let my kids go.
Back then?
No, well, maybe back then, but like in today's world, there's no way.
I would certainly not let, maybe if they were 18 and above, I'd let them do it. Because we hitchhiked for a few years later while it was still open in college, but there was nothing that ever approached that, because it was never as open as it was then, because the interstates did come in, and that cut down on getting long rides. And so,
well, and that cut down on long rides, and then the world became much more volatile. There became the race riots and those kinds of things, which made it kind of scary. And then, there were, in comes Vietnam and all of the disappointment in that war and the way different people felt. And it came to a point where I think it would have been very scary to be standing out there with a thumb in a suitcase, and you get in a car and you don't know what you're going to get.
No, absolutely. And the Vietnam did come. Vietnam was a big killer of spontaneity too. Yes. And it affected all of us, and especially affected us, because we all had to, do something about the draft.
Right.
And that's covered later in the book.
Yes.
In the last couple of times that Dango and myself meet. And it's, Vietnam, apparently someone in his family said that the Vietnam may have finally tipped him over, because he had friends that had been killed, that he had met in basic training. So and
it could have
been.
Yeah. It's always hard to know when someone has mental illness and they choose to end their life. It's hard to know what the pieces were, what was the last straw. And really, sometimes the last straws might seem very tiny, but it's because they had, a million other straws they were already carrying. And so you don't really know. It's not something you can go back and put together and say, well, this is what happened.
No. All I know is I'm sure there was booze,
Yeah. Well,
that would take him down, and
right.
where he didn't need to go. But I don't know. The openness of people, and I'm glad you found it. And I think you might find it in small towns, especially when you're riding a tandem bike.
There is something about people were just amazed. What are you doing? What are you doing? And then wanted to talk about it. So
sure. And then they'll talk about themselves and about the town, about, we went into Clovis, New Mexico, when they found that we'd gotten kicked off the train by what was it called? I know
like the police guy, but I can't remember what you called him. But
the Santa Fe Bull was.
That's what he was. Yep. Yeah.
And so he kicked us off the train, and we went into town, and they all knew him. We had breakfast, and people were laughing about him, and he was really not as bad as he seemed.
But no, but you were 18-year-old boys someplace you shouldn't have been, and he had a dog.
Yeah. And so this is, I mean, it's so vivid to me now, and I think the book captures a lot of that, openness. Yeah. In fact, I can tie it into a sales pitch here, but it's the website for the book, which is a lot of fun. I don't know if you've gone there.
I have looked. It is interesting.
It's called openroads1961.com. And there's all kinds of, there's a map, and there's pictures of us, and all the places we stopped, were picked up or dropped off, or, hopped on the train, things like that. It makes it come alive. And I think the book itself makes 1961 come alive.
It does. It absolutely does. Yeah. One of the other things I think that really shocked me was the number of times you're hitchhiking, you're with a stranger. They do not know you. They've never met you until this moment. And then they say, "Hey, you want to drive my car?"
Yeah. No, well, that was part of it.
That blows my mind, because no one's driving my car if I don't know who you are. Like, that is never going to happen. And yet within moments of you, it's like, "Hey, bud, I'm getting tired. You want to drive my car?" They don't know anything about you. You could be the world's worst driver. I mean, you recently took a car off a cliff. This is not.
It's true. I mean, they're, and but people, I guess, that are going to drive all night and driving then, but they did it then. I mean, on 3 of the rides, "Hey, you're going to have to take this last drive. I'm going to go in the back seat and fall asleep.
I'm tired. I'm going to go sleep now." And it was like, that just really, really blew my mind. I was pretty amazed by that as well.
And of course, one of those times we wrecked their car. So
yes. Yeah. So I was like, oh my gosh. How long did it take you to write this book?
1 year.
1 year. That's really not that bad.
No. I sat down, and I had taken a course at UCLA, and it was a memoir course. And the lady that taught the course said, "Hey, you're the best writer in here, and I loved what you started," and then she worked with me, editing a little bit, and she's given a plug in the back of the book. So, and so I sat down and I would go to the Beverly Hills Library, and the Beverly Hills Library had a 2-hour time limit for parking. So I never wanted to, and that was way too expensive to, pay $4, to park. So I would go
in for your 2 hours and get out
2 hours every morning,
Yeah.
And it was sort of forced me to write, which I need to have people force me to write. I mean, writing is the hardest. I mean, I did it for advertising because I got paid. There was immediate gratification, to get paid. A full page ad for Life magazine, which was a big deal. I wrote, but I was getting paid for that stuff. So
right. And when you're writing a memoir, you hope to eventually be paid, but you don't even know when you're writing it if it will ever do anything. So
you'll never be paid how much.
Right, exactly, for the number of hours that you put in.
I think of the writers that have sold tons of books. That writing and sitting and the concentration is really difficult. It's really difficult for an old ad writer
to do more than a little bit of ad copy to actually.
I got paid. I don't know if I talk about it in the book, but I got paid at one point. There was a freelance job, Japanese wine,
Good. That's not bad. I wouldn't mind doing that, Lee. That would be great.
But it goes to show you that, if I can get $2,000 for 2 words, but nothing ever satisfied me as much as writing this book.
Fantastic.
So
so Lee, you mentioned your website. Go ahead and mention it one more time. And is that the best way for people to get in touch with you if they wanted to reach out?
Right. It is. And it's going to be more so because I'm starting to write some of those stories about the 70s and advertising. And openroads1961.com.
Fantastic.
And
so guys, I will have that in the show notes. You'll be able to reach out to that. So that'll be great. Definitely go out and grab yourself a copy of this book. It was really fun. I enjoyed it immensely. I enjoyed getting to know Lee. I feel like I know you way more than you know me because I now know you.
You know me.
I knew you at least as a teenage boy, or late teens, early 20s.
Well, I'm reverting back there. So,
well, we all do. I mean, that's what I've been told. But anyway, so definitely run out, grab the book, give it a great review, reach out to Lee if you'd like to talk a little bit more about his life. And Lee, I want to thank you so much for being with me today.
Terry, thanks. It was fun talking to you. And thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to Online for Authors, where I, Terry M. Brown, author of character-driven fiction and host of the podcast, introduce readers to characters they'd love to invite to lunch. Tune in next Tuesday for another podcast episode.